Warren Buffett is back. After years of underperforming the market, with the stocks in the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio lagging both the tech-heavy Nasdaq and the broader S&P 500, Buffett and his value investing strategy have easily beaten the indexes this year. Shares of Berkshire have lost just 7.3% in the first 6 months versus a loss of 18% in the S&P 500 stocks and 26% for those in the Nasdaq. Hey Bowtie Nation, Joseph Hogue here, and that value investing strategy used by Warren Buffett is back, and it's helping investors protect their money in the stock market crash. So I wasn't surprised looking through the moomoo app to find a pre-built screener for Warren Buffett stocks. In this video, I'll take you through that screener, show you how Warren Buffett picks his stocks, and even refine it to narrow down your list of stocks to watch. I'll then highlight 5 of the best Buffett stocks to buy right now. We're getting started, but before we do, I've got to send that special shout out to all you out there in the nation. Thank you for spending a part of your day to be here. And if you're not part of that community yet, just click that little red subscribe button. It's free and you'll never miss an episode. Now, if you want to find the Buffett stock screener in the moomoo app, just open the app and look for the search icon here in the upper right. Click on the search screener link here in the upper right as well, where you find that pre-built screeners as well as creating your own. Now, this Warren Buffett screener still leaves us with 743 stocks to watch, so I'm going to show you how to set this up and narrow out your list in a minute. Moomoo is a commission-free trading app with the analysis and real-time market news to help you invest better. You'll get free level 2 quotes critical to making the best trades, and one of my favorite features here, a trader community of more than 15 million people to get ideas and insight. The app is built for stock traders, but also has some great features for long-term investors. Features like custom stock screeners and news feed from CNBC. Use the link I'll leave below and get up to 10 free stocks worth up to $2,500 each when you start investing on moomoo. Now, I want to get started on that list of Warren Buffett stocks, so I'm going to show you how to narrow your list later. Now, understand that these aren't the stocks already in the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio. Anyone can just regurgitate a list of Buffett stocks he already owns by looking at that portfolio. For these stocks, I wanted to pick companies that would make great buys based on the fundamentals and the value strategy Buffett uses. And you can see all the stocks Warren Buffett currently owns by going to the institutional tracking function on moomoo. It's updated each quarter to see the most recent holdings. Our first Buffett stock is one we've been watching on the channel for a while, booking a 144% return in our 2020 portfolio. Diamondback Energy, ticker FANG. Now, Buffett has just recently started buying up another oil producer, Occidental Petroleum, ticker OXY, and owns about 20% of the company, so he probably won't be buying another one, but I think FANG is the better stock. The company is a leader in energy production with over 9,000 drill sites and profitable at just $50 a barrel, less than half the current price of crude. In fact, Diamondback is so profitable, it recently upped its shareholder cash return to 75% of free cash flow. That free cash flow is expected to jump 49% this year to $3.6 billion, allowing the company to raise its dividend 44% to $2.80 a share. The shares are trading for about 5 times this year's expected earnings, which could be up more than 120% from last year. Analysts have a buy rating on the stock and an average target of $180 a share, nearly 42% above the current price. We recently highlighted Southern Copper, ticker SCCO, in a video on electric vehicles, and the recent sell-off has made this a strong value stock with a 9% dividend. Now, while most investors are busy watching shares of Tesla and NIO for that electric revolution, the real opportunity could be in copper. On projections for 2040, the International Energy Agency estimates that supplies of lithium, copper, and other minerals are going to need to jump 30-fold to meet demand. The average vehicle on the streets today holds just 51 pounds of copper, less than a third the amount needed for a battery electric vehicle, and just 2/3 the need for a hybrid vehicle. And this chart shows the current and planned production for 3 key elements in electric vehicles. Dark blue here is the current operating production, with light blue including planned projects. Now, on that red line, the increased demand for EV, we could be in a supply deficit by 2024 in copper and even earlier in some of these others. And Southern Copper has the highest copper reserves in the industry at over 67 million metric tons, and it's the world's 5th largest producer. In fact, on those reserves alone, the company has more than 50 years of production left in its mines. This is a focused producer with assets in Mexico and Peru, and more of a pure play on copper than other miners, with 84% of its revenue from the metal. Shares are priced at just 12 times on a PE basis and provide exposure to that commodities theme to protect your portfolio from inflation. Analysts only rate the stock a hold on average, but with a price target of $60 a share, that's a 17% potential upside on top of the dividend yield. We're just getting started, but I want to show you what's in that Buffett stock screener, what Warren Buffett looks for in a stock, and later how to narrow your list a little. We're here on the stock screener in moomoo, and if you click on Modify Indicator here at the bottom, it's going to take you to those filters. Here you can see that these are 7 criteria used in this filter. They're all pretty basic. It's first looking for stocks in the US exchanges with a market cap above $500 million. In fact, the smallest company in the Buffett portfolio right now is RH at $6 billion market cap, and he's rarely invested in anything under a few billion market size. Now, the screener also filters for companies with at least a 30% gross margin, which is fairly low anyway, so probably doesn't screen out a lot of companies. Now, this filter for net income growth of at least 6% annually is another pretty basic one. And with the average company in the S&P 500 expected to grow earnings by 10% this year, that's not a very high bar to set. Now, this return on equity, or the ROE filter, is a big one for Warren Buffett. It's a company's net income divided by shareholders' equity, and really a measure of how much return investors are getting on their investment. So here, an ROE of at least 10%. And finally here, the operating profit divided by earnings before taxes, or EBT, is just a measure of the leverage and interest expense. Now, I won't go into the accounting here, but an operating profit of at least 70% earnings before taxes just means that interest expense is here kept to a minimum for the stocks in the screener. Let's get back to our stock list, but I want to get your input on this as well. What is your favorite Buffett stock not in his portfolio? So what stock in that value strategy do you think Buffett will buy next? Scroll down and let me know in the comments. Now, Buffett does own a lot of bank stocks, but doesn't have much capital markets exposure, and I think Jefferies Financial, ticker JEF, would be a great pick. Whereas Warren Buffett has a lot of consumer banking exposure with Bank of America and US Bancorp, Jefferies would add that exposure to investment banking, trading, and fixed income. It regularly posts sales growth well above the industry average in each segment here, and showing a real competitive advantage in the industry. Now, earnings are expected to tumble this year with an extremely weak outlook for the capital markets, but shares are now trading for just 8.7 times on a price to earnings basis. Earnings are expected back up 24% next year, and the stock pays a 4.4% dividend while you wait. Analysts have an outperform rating on the stock and an average price target of nearly $38 a share. That's 35% above the current price plus the dividend. Now, Buffett doesn't hold a lot of tech stocks, but the market crash has brought out the value, and Skyworks Solutions, ticker SWKS, pays a 2.4% dividend yield. Skyworks is a leader in semiconductors for wireless connectivity, including power amplifiers, filters, and switches. Most of its business is in smartphones, but the company is positioned for that 5G boom in home and audio. That rollout of 5G is still in its early adoption phase, and the Internet of Things trend is a boon for semiconductor companies. The company is expected to post 6% earnings growth this year to $11.12 a share on 8% sales growth. Now, that puts the price to earnings ratio at just 8.3 times this year's earnings, which is very cheap for a tech stock. Analysts covering the stock have an average target price of $149 a share, more than 61% above the current price, and an average outperform rating. We've still got one more Buffett stock to watch, but I want to show you how to narrow down your list of stocks when you're screening for value. I don't know about the Oracle of Omaha. Maybe he has enough analysts on the payroll. He can look through 700 plus stocks, but I need to narrow that screener down before I start researching. And a natural place to start here is just narrowing down your list to stocks with a price to earnings ratio below 15 times earnings. It's the most basic value stock metric and is going to cut your list down to a third. Now, of course, there is something you need to understand here using that PE ratio like this. What's considered cheap in one sector might be expensive in another. For example, a PE ratio of 15 might be expensive in bank stocks, but actually a great deal in tech stocks. So just filtering across the entire market on that PE ratio could concentrate your results in those lower PE sectors like financials, energy, and materials, because more companies in those sectors have PE ratios below that 15 on average. Now, all you out there in the nation know the operating margin is one of my favorite measures of profitability and management efficiency. So we're going to narrow our list to those with at least a 10% operating margin. And now, Buffett may not be a big believer in dividends, but I am. So I'm going to filter only for stocks with a dividend yield. And finally here, one of the biggest traps in value investing is companies with too much debt. So we're going to set this current debt ratio filter to no more than 80% debt to equity. Now that still leaves us with almost 100 stocks, so play around with the criteria here. Maybe we'll lower that PE ratio to no more than 12 times earnings. That's going to give us a more manageable list of Buffett stocks to research. Quest Diagnostics, ticker DGX, is a leader in healthcare information services and has a lot of catalysts for growth. Now Buffett is curiously underinvested in healthcare other than his stake in Johnson & Johnson, which even that is only $59 million of a $324 billion portfolio. Quest serves a full third of the U.S. population and half the hospitals and physicians in the country. It's the 56 billion patient data points, though, that represents the real hidden value here, being able to use that data in research and development. And the consumer testing market could be another opportunity for massive growth. At-home COVID testing really opened people up to the idea of home testing, and Quest estimates it's a $2 billion untapped opportunity. Now, this is another one where earnings are expected lower this year to $9.23 as that boom in COVID testing wears off, but shares are now trading for just 14 times on a price-to-earnings basis. Analysts have an outperform rating on the stock and an average target of $151 a share, about 11% higher from here, but I think that consumer testing potential takes it much higher. Check out moomoo with the link below and get up to 10 free stocks when you start investing, or click on the video to the right for a dividend stock portfolio for weekly cash flow. 12 stocks that will put money in your pocket every single week. Don't forget to join the Let's Talk Money community by tapping that subscribe button and clicking the bell notification.